Right now we have the genre and category. But what I want to do is I want to add a new model for book. And book and category will have a relationship of 1-to-1. Each book will have a category of that book. So first thing that we have to do is we need to add the model for our book and we need to push that to database. So inside model, I'll add a new class file and I'll call this book. We'll make it a public class and I will add a few properties here. So first will be integer and we'll call this book ID. Now as you know, if we call this book ID, it automatically makes it a primary key. So let me call this book_ID. That way EF Core will not know that this is the default primary key. Next property that I want is a string property for title of the book, followed by another string property for ISBN. And last thing here will be the price, which I'll make it double. So right now, these are the only properties that I want in the book model. Now, before we go ahead and push this to database, we need to add that for DBSet. So we can copy this genre DBSet, paste it here for book, and we'll call this as books. Perfect. We can update the database, but we will get an error message because there is no primary key on the table. Let's give it a try so that you can see that error message. Okay, we'll press enter and we'll hit the error message. It says book requires a primary key to be defined. This is not possible using the built-in conventions and we need to take the help of our data annotations. So the next thing that we have is data annotations for required and primary key. If there is a column that does not follow the default convention, you can use the key attribute to let EF Core know that this will be a primary key. Next thing we have is required on top here. If there is a column in which nullable is false in database, we can use the required annotation and then that column will be a required field. Let's try both of these out. Let's switch back here. Let me close this. The ID, we need the key data annotation. It adds a using statement to component model.data annotation. And let's make the title as required. We'll also make all of the properties required. Since we have very few properties here, let's also make price a required property. That being said, if we save this, and now if we go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, Console, let's add migration again. This time, let's examine what gets added. It is successful, that is one good thing. You can see books table will be created. Book ID is an identity column and it's also a primary key. So our data annotation is working. Next thing you should notice is title, ISBN and price. All three of them have nullable false. And that is because we added required property inside our book model right here. That sounds good. Let's go ahead and update the database. Great, so with this we learned two more data annotations, which is required and key. Let's continue in the next video.